Hello, hello, welcome everyone. When this Concord panel started coming together, I just knew I wanted to moderate this. So you guys know this is the only panel I'm moderating this event, and I got my eye on you because, as you will notice, that this is one of the coolest indie groups and labels around. Can I say the coolest? I can't say the coolest. The
So sweet.
I am a big Concord fangirl, if you can't tell. So I'm just ready to jump right into this. We have a special tag team with the Hazel and Andy in here, wherever you are, there on my bottom left of your corner. And Joe and Jill. I'm just so excited. I love how diverse and broad your titles are. Andy, we don't have your title here as the president of Fearless Records. And important for someone and all of these young people listening today and plotting a career in music to understand what these titles mean. So I wanted to start off, give us a quick intro, brief overview of your role at Concord. We're going to start with Hazel, the CFO. Let's see how we can do this. I might maybe do some follow-up questions, but let's start with you. Brief overview and your role at Concord.
Sure. Hi, I'm Hazel Malit. I've been at Concord for 12 years. Started as just an accounting manager, and I'm now CFO. Been in this position for 3 years. Um, as Nurit has said, Concord's such a great place to work for. What I do. So basically, my job is to look at our financials, work with all of the label presidents, figure out what their financial expectations are and what our goals are, and then help them achieve those financial goals, as well as then what they say, count the beans at the end of each month, figure out how much revenue we've earned, how much we've spent, and put those numbers all together and deliver it to our investors and any stakeholders. Uh, that's a quick overview of what I do.
Sweet. We'll go to your teammate there, Andy.
Hey, Andy Serrao, president of Fearless Records. What I do, I mean, first and foremost, I get in the trenches with all my colleagues here, Hazel, Joe, Jill, every day of our lives and kill ourselves on behalf of the artists. That's what we do. In terms of title, my position is to drive, my commitment to the artists and developing their careers, but also a commitment to our staff here and growing their careers as much equal as important to myself, and making sure that we are driving the business forward in such a sense that we can continue to grow and get more money from Hazel to continue developing artists around the world to scale. That is simple, but we're here to develop careers, and that's not just the artists, but also the people we work for and care about in this building.
Sweet. Excellent. Joe, SVP Label Operations.
Yes, the vaguest of the bunch, right? Hello there. My name is Joe Dent. I'm the SVP of Label Operations at Concord. So my position is difficult to describe even as the one who holds it, but I think the easiest way to describe it is I oversee a lot of the backstage functions that support the rest of this group and our broader label group to do what they do, sort of the non-creative, non-sexy side of things. I would say process improvement, finding the most efficient ways to do the things that we do, and sort of generally be the fixer. If there's a problem over there, I'm deployed to that disaster zone and allow these folks to do what they do best.
Yeah, I often with our operations director too. I was like, "There's this thing. Can you figure this out?"
Give me all the things. Give me your broken things, and I'll try to glue them together.
Exactly. Right? That connective tissue. I love it. Jill, GM Label Group. And so I'd love you to talk about what a general manager is, but also if you can dive a little bit into what a label group is.
Sure.
You get two questions there.
Okay. I'll see if I'm up for the task. Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Weindorf. General manager is it's different at every different company, right? Some general managers have more of a financial background or have more of an operations background. Joe, Hazel, and I are actually, all three of us are general managers because we work together as a unit to support Andy and our other Concord owned and associated labels. So if you wanted to boil this down, Hazel's the money lady, Joe's the ops guy, the guy that puts it all together and supports the so she writes the checks, right? He makes sure that the system works. And then I make sure that we market and find audiences and go about every type of marketing support that we could possibly offer to Andy and his team to help bring his artists to the marketplace. So a lot of it's about marketing execution in the way that Concord uses me as our general manager. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. How do you, though, create this sort of like symbiotic relationship, but still have that individual label still stick out and have their own space to shine?
Well, maybe we would take a step back and kind of talk about how Concord is structured. So as we function right now, there's the different label groups, of which Andy is the president of one of them, right? There are 6 or 7 different business units within Concord Label Group. And they each have their own marketing strategy, their own artist development. They create the path for the artist to go and to support them on the different elements of their career. They then use a central services team, which is again helmed by Hazel, Joe, and myself to help execute that. So in there would be people to get songs played on the radio, people to pitch our DSP partners and streaming partners, people who will go out there and work international for us and work in the different territories, people who will go get music placed in films and television. So there's all kinds of stakeholders, and we're sort of a complex, symbiotic is a great word, right? Fearless sort of starts the ball rolling, and then they come to the greater Concord team to help support and execute on their marketing vision. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Well,
That's who we are.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, it does. You know, Live Nation has a similar structure in that there are these individual venues, and specifically or joint ventures, but there is like those central services that can support that. And so I want to head over to Andy to talk about where I asked Jill how do you keep the group and the individual. I want to make sure that we also hear from you how, as an independent record label, you ensure your singularity inside of this larger mothership.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're fortunate that Concord as a whole has given us the power, myself and the people who sign artists here and develop them every day, to kind of decide what we deem signable, what we want to sign and develop. Oftentimes, I show them to Jill while we're interested in different artists. So we create our own rosters here. You know, there's no pressure to say, hey, sign this act. There's this trend. You know, peel these off TikTok. It's what we're allowed to do, and however we discover those artists, whether they're coming off TikTok or they're coming to us through their attorney or manager, or artist agent, whatever it may be. So, you know, sitting amongst our peers in the company are the other labels. You know, we all have a little bit of our own flair. We don't cross paths too much, and to the benefit of having our services, right? To having go to radio, not having 10, 20 artists piling up on the same month or the same week, right? We've been able to manage that accordingly. And I think Jill's done a good job when we do have a few things step on each other, that we often take the right pass and the right development strategy to get them further apart and doesn't lose any of the momentum we may have, or the artist touring schedule, or whatever we're doing currently in the marketing project. So, you know, I think for us, we've always been said, hey, this is your label, do what you want. We're here to support, you know, and I don't think you find scenarios like that anywhere around the world, to be honest. To be very honest, I've been in other labels where we've had records step on each other. You said, cool, the bigger one wins, you know.
Yeah.
I think Concord does a really good job about curating the labels that exist here and supporting that. And then obviously there's always room for expanding. So I think Concord has their, you know, their eyes moving forward on how we continue to build our track record developing artists. You know, we have a #1 record alternative radio right now after 27 weeks. We know that those don't fall off the tree often. So that type of development, working with the greater team of Concord, amazing. But still having that, hey, these are the artists you support. This is your vision. This is your brand. We're here to support that. Like I said, not a very common scenario amongst any labels in the world or distributors in the world. So we're very fortunate there.
I love it. I love it.
I think, Nurit, one of the things that Andy does is he goes out there and he tells the artist, yeah, come sign with Fearless and we're going to support you. And that's a very serious promise to make, right? That's somebody's career. So we've got to do everything we can to gather around that and keep Andy's promises, right? Because our artists are our lifeblood. And that's the most important thing that we talk about and think about every single day is, you know, how are we going to be different from our competitors, and how are we going to make promises, keep promises, and create the next level of artistry for the world to go out there and be the biggest fans in the world. We've got to make that right. So it's a big responsibility when Andy says, hey, we're going to bring this artist into the family, and everybody gathers around that. And that's the most important thing we do. Andy has the most important job.
I love that. That artist first, a label that puts their artist like right first. I mean, we've heard those horror stories of artists signing with the label and getting like lost and losing money. I mean, you hear that, and to hear you guys talk about really taking that responsibility seriously, I think that's what separates you guys also from the rest too, for sure. And the fact is, you know, having that, the three of you, the Hazel, Jill, Joe, three legs of that stool, also high up in that 30,000 foot level, making sure that all certain dots are being, that the dots are connecting, that like you said, everybody is all the boats are rising as the tide rises. I think it's brilliant. And Joe, I'd love for you to talk about, from that operations department in a creative industry, like how does that ops department support? Has tech impacted your work, and how do you utilize it? And you can even, like, if you want to use any examples of you know, how you've found yourself stepping into certain roles to support. I'd love to hear how
Sure.
you sit in this space.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to transition, because everything that Andy just said, you know, we are dependent on being successful at the things that we offer, so that the artist can have a successful career. I look at Andy as one of my customers, so to speak. I need to take care of the administrative nuts and bolts aspect of operating a business, so that he and his team don't have to. The less they're spending doing things that are inefficient or archaic in nature, the more time they have to sign all these great artists that are helping us grow into the independent powerhouse that we've become. So as far as technology goes, I mean, every day when I look at the stack of problems that we're trying to either solve or improve, we're seeing, are there tools, are there automations, are there things that we can adopt or employ that make our systems ever so faster, that make it ever so easier for his team to exist in our world. So a lot of that exists on project management tools, where we have a system internally now that its main intention is to be the central source of truth for Fearless and all of our labels, to understand what's going on with their releases in the pre-release phase, as whether it's physical production, where does this stand at this given moment in time, so that if they get a call from their manager, they can have an informed response. So I think there's the ability to constantly be mindful of what technologies are present, or, I mean, there's a new tool. We get a pitch deck from a startup every day, and some are worth exploring and some maybe not so much. But if we aren't modern and reinventing ourselves, then we're not really enabling our labels to do the core lifeblood of the company, which is sign and develop artists.
Yeah. You just even like touched on data. Data has become queen or king, however you want to look at that. And that you're helping even pull some of this data up, aggregating it across, simplifying the business side of it so that the labels, Andy and
sure
focus on
and that's a huge layer of it. Like there's the sort of operational process flow data, then there's the actual sales and marketing data that give them the tools for Jill and others to employ in whatever marketing strategy, and exposing that in a way that's digestible. So ingesting it, cleaning it up, and then spitting it back out to them in a way that's meaningful. Another thing that we're constantly evolving, both with internal proprietary tools that our distributors offer to us, or third-party platforms that just make, nobody wants to sit and sift through a spreadsheet and try to pick out the most important information themselves, as much as having it presented to them in a way that's digestible. So it's all part of the overall system that we're trying to constantly build and improve on a daily basis.
Love it. I know somebody who loves spreadsheets, the money boss, right? Spreadsheets, that's your thing. You'll think through it, you'll sort through it. I kind of will be asking the same question that I asked Joe. I mean, the CFO, critical, especially in this capitalistic society that we live in. But there's so many different tools that have popped in, tech that's come in. You're sitting in this like creative space. You're talking to creatives from a very technical point of view, a very specific point of view. Would love to have you riff a little bit on your role in this, and all the different tools you use to make it happen.
Yeah, so for me, most finance people are always known to be more of a roadblock, right? Because they're the ones who always says no or questions everything that the labels do. What we've created here is that, and I've told my team this, is our job is to support and actually help them grow. So for me, our perspective and what role I play in is, how do we support not just the label itself, but also the artist? So as an example, when we're dealing with, Andy brings in an artist and he wants to sign someone, we look at the financial perspective, not just on how much we think Concord will make, but also how successful will the artist be based on these deals. So we work with our business affairs teams, as well as my financial planning and analytics department, where we look at models for both sides. And we always want to make deals where we do not feel like, we don't want an artist to feel like, gosh, they were horrible, right? Most record labels are always the bad guy. We try not to do that here, where we always want to make sure we're proposing the best financial outlook for the artist. So that's one perspective that we tend to do. Second thing is, when looking, aside from your day-to-day functions, we also, on the revenue side, that's where Joe and I work well together, where he is talking about the different tools based on our different distributors who report sales to us, and how do we ingest that, right? So we make sure that the artists are paid correctly by making sure we recognize every single penny, every revenue we receive from all of our different distributors. And there's a lot of IT script writing where we're working with them and making sure things are, mapped to the right artist. And that involves, taking our ISRCs, our UPCs, creating a hierarchy where they go to the projects and make sure that every penny gets pushed down to the artist accounts. So that's one aspect.
Will you tell us what those acronyms are that you just said, so everybody
can sure. Okay, I don't know what ISR. It's so long, I can't remember. Does anyone know what ISRC is?
International Standard Recording Code.
Right.
Thank you. So that's I call it a song code, right?
So say what that is, though, right? So it's a project identifier, right? Go ahead.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's how we identify the tracks, the songs, and that from there it goes to UPC, which is that identifies the actual album, right? And then from there we then add a project number. Basically, it's the record release. So if Fearless has an Ice Nine Kills Trauma record, there might be different configurations. There might be different vinyl CDs, right? A digital version, I don't know,
Deluxe
edition. Those all goes to one project that's called trauma, right? But then you have all of the other things. So if that's not structured correctly, it's very hard. Then you have revenue floating around that no one, well, we don't know who this money belongs to. By structuring that correctly and making sure it's fed into our system correctly, so that way when when you stream the song, we know it gets back to I Prevail, right? Like the song, all of that gets down to that. Did I explain that correctly? I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in.
Yeah, it's a big funnel, a big complicated systems. Gets to that's where the dollar gets back to the artist, and if they don't do this correctly, a lot of headaches, a lot of broken hearts and questions, and that's where people think that the labels may be quote unquote ripping off the artist, but it's actually never the case. Any time any of that comes up, it's typically an audit scenario where something was missed. What Hazel's done here in the past couple years, working this really proprietary financial system they've created in the building so that nothing ever goes through. So it's tech that's proprietary to Concord that Hazel and team have been building. So it's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting stuff for Hazel, not exciting for myself. Maybe exciting for Joe, quasi exciting for Jill.
Yeah.
But it should be really exciting for the artists, right? Because that's what they're making sure.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right?
I think for the artists, like we always preach around here is we have a ferocious obligation to the artist, right? And that's for everything, right? It's developing the career on the road. It's from making sure that what is theirs is due to them. They receive, right? So I think it's easy to go take it. I don't say it's easy, but sometimes it's great to take an artist from 0 to 10 to 100, but also catching all that up on the back and to make sure they're all taken care of. I think we deem success around here, #1 records, high sales charts, great revenue, but it's also, I always preach this, it's about giving artists careers. Artists buying homes is a big thing for me. When our artists are buying homes and not having to have a second job when they go home, that means more to me than a #1 record. And I think we've been fortunate to keep accomplishing that year after year after year. But again, if we don't get our numbers right, if we don't have the processes right at the label, it's all again, it creates that rift. The revenue doesn't flow through. It can mess with their tax So again, what we have to do here between Joe, Hazel, and Jill and myself is to make sure that is a well-oiled machine, and we're fortunate we have that.
That's so cool. What kind of deals are you guys typically seeing right now, or making? Are the album, single songs, project, idea? Like what are you seeing coming through, or what are you guys signing actually?
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak for Fearless, and I know I speak very closely to all the labels here at the company. We're doing all types of deals. We're doing old school master recording deals. We're doing singles deals. I think where it speaks to is the genre and the type of in that audience, right? If it's more of a dance record, the typical release cadence is higher, right? And if it's an album from an artist that has fan base already, they really dig into records, right? And how you roll that out can be a million different ways. But I think all deals are on the table currently in how we structure them. I think when we think of structuring deals, it's what Hazel said. It's not for the benefit of the label. We would love to do deals like that, but that is short-sighted, right? We're thinking careers here. Everybody wins if everyone is successful. So how we structure those deals and where the pockets of money and tranches kind of come out, and how we are. I always say we're always in the long-term game here. So, if we win album 2 or 3, or say single 20 or 30, then everyone's winning, because then we have built a vast catalog, a repertoire where people can then go back and consume and learn and identify with the artist. And we've had a lot of situations with that this year, courtesy of obviously a lot of different marketing tools, but we've been able to bring an artist here and then watch everything else of their past, records grow. So
can I add to that? Like, the one thing I really like about Concord is how much we do care about the artists and the service we provide, because most labels, they just want, hey, we'll take one record, we'll throw you a bunch of money. No, we want them to trust us, that they want to come back and put out record 3, 4, 5, 6 and stay with us. And Andy has done a great job, and that's also thanks to Jill and Joe, and what a good job they do to make sure that this runs smoothly. And I mean, I'm extremely proud of our company for how we handle those situations, and how hard we work for our artists. So and I'm glad that they come back, because that's rare.
Well, that's our best calling card, right? is, I think, something that everybody is always on our mind is relationships. And our best calling card is when the artist signs with us, we do a great job, and then they re-sign with us, right? And then they talk about other artists re-signing with us, right? And there's all of these interconnected things to that, right? Many of our artists have the same managers or the same booking agents. Our partnerships have these tentacles out into the business, and that brings us our next big band, so everything evolves. So if we fail on our promise to the artist, even just one time, right? And that hurts their career, we've got to do 100 things to make up to that, to remind them of what our value is. So when Andy said that he acts as though Andy is his customer, we have that with the labels. As Joe, Hazel, and I are a team to serve the labels, we have that. But we also have that all the way out to the artist level, all the way out to the manager level, out to the booking agent. So many times, if we do the right thing by a manager that manages a small artist, they might bring us another artist, right? The same booking agent says, hey, Concord's promotion team kicks butt, man. You might want to look into that. They talk to the manager, the booking agent talks to the manager, the venues talk to each other. Everybody, it's all interconnected. So much of what our success has been a result of us doing the right thing. And that's just good business, right? Doing the right thing by the artist, doing the right thing by the manager, saying what you're going to do, doing what you're going to say, not making false promises, and also understanding that everything's evolving. So the best part about Hazel is she loves to break things. We'll be like, Hazel, we need a financial model that does this. She'll be like, I don't have that. Our current model doesn't do that. Hold on, I'm going to rebuild it for you. She creates a financial model that says this. Andy says, I want to spend all this money and I'm not going to see a dime back in investment for 4 years. Hazel then goes out there and finds some way to do that, some way to fund that. That's okay, Andy. We're going to do it this way. And we're going to plan for that 4-year gap. That most CFOs are going to go, you're not going to make money for 4 years, to take off her shoe and throw it at his head. Not Hazel. Hazel will go, okay, Andy, I have faith in you. I have faith in your ability to find this artist. If that's what we need to do, I'm going to figure out how to do it. And she gets it done. We all just get it done for whatever the right thing is to do for that artist, because it always comes back in tenfold. It's amazing how resilient this group of people can be. And we have 5 other Andys. I mean, Andy's pretty special, but we have other labels, and those label heads also want us to break policy. Hey, Joe, this thing that's been working has worked all along. It's not working anymore. Now we need something that does this. And then Joe goes and builds it. It's tremendous, and it's what needs to be done. That's what's different about Concord. We don't make the artist fit into our model. We make our model work for the artist.
And the world around us that keeps evolving too, right? I think I think you hit on that. And, they say for kids in school now, they're going to be entering a workforce. We don't even know what those jobs are at this point, right? What the roles are. So I'd love for you to go around quickly again, do this round circle around the skills that you use. 2 to 3 skills that you feel that you use, durable skills, or it can be a technical skill if you think that that's really key to your thing. Like Hazel, you can say Excel or QuickBooks or something like that. But if you can just hit on those skills, because those durable skills are the ones that we feel like we need to teach this next generation and what they need to focus on, because we don't know where they're going to enter, what roles they're going to be. But if you guys can master these skills, you can find a place in a label. So if you guys we can go around. Maybe Joe, let's start with you. What are the 2 to 3 skills that you use on a daily basis for your role?
Sure. So I think in my unique circumstances, I mean, maintaining a sort of calm under pressure, however you want to describe that in the right terminology. There's a lot of challenges that are thrown at us that we don't, the answer or the solution is not always obvious. So, and a second one, I guess what I would say, is a willingness to innovate and come up with unique solutions to complex problems. There's not a day that I don't have some relative disaster that we have to tackle. And then I guess an obvious one that probably applies to everybody is just determination. You know, this is an ever-changing business. What as Jill said earlier, what worked yesterday or works today more than likely will not work tomorrow. So it can't be something that dissuades you from maintaining that determination to improve.
I love it. Jill, 2 to 3 skills that you feel like you use on a daily basis. Your role.
I think something that I do that a lot of people don't do, and actually Andy does this a lot too, is I read a lot. I seek a lot of information. If I don't understand something, I go try to read about it, or I find the person who does understand it and I ask them to explain it to me. Recommendations, tons of them. Start with the why. There's a question in the chat. It's called Start with the Why by Simon Sinek. I think that's a fantastic marketing book. Jade Long, hit me offline and I will tell you the best marketing books because I read marketing books all the time. And then I throw a lot of them away. I'm like Hazel. I kind of get the foundation and then I break it. But I think that's a big one is paying attention, reading and listening. I talk too much. I know that. I don't know what that's about. But I also listen. I listen maybe as much as I talk, but maybe not. So you should listen a lot. And always listen and not be afraid to ask questions. Because I think most people are thinking the same thing as you are, right? I've figured out that if I ask a lot of questions and I really listen to the answer, I'm going to learn and I'm going to be able to apply it. And so I just think reading, listening, paying attention, right? Not multitasking all the darn time and really being in the moment can serve you super well. I don't know.
I love it. I love it. Andy, 2 to 3 skills you use.
Yeah, so I mean, I was going to say this, but Jill stole. I mean, I think the best skill you can have is being a good listener. Period. Working with artists, working with people, you got to realize singers and bands, especially, or artists in general, they are trying to tell you something, and if you speak over them, you'll never get what they're saying. They're not going to get out in a verse, that's for sure. They're not going to get out. Of course, these people write hundreds of thousands of songs just to get one record, right? So listening is everything. Jill said this a little bit, the gift of gab. I think being able to speak to people is kind of becoming a lost art. And what Hazel does really well here is speak your mind, right? No one's going to ever fault you for saying something that was wrong. I often tell the staff here, I'm like, every marketing meeting we have, I'm like, don't be afraid to say anything, because even if you're wrong and if your idea is quote unquote not great, it's going to spark the conversation to something better. And you only get better if you're putting it out there. If you're sitting in the back of the classroom and never say anything, you're never getting ahead. Right. I think I learned that in college. I was a poli-sci major. I was going to go be an attorney. And I never said anything, but then I'd write these great papers on moot court, and they'd be like, "How come you didn't say anything all year?" I'm like, I didn't need to. I kind of get all here. Like, well, you need to speak up because it's going to help engage the whole classroom, right? And that's like, hey, we just got to speak up. I think being a good listener is everything, especially when you're dealing with people who are artists, who are deep souls, who have a lot to say. You got to listen first before you speak. You can't run them over. I like to read, just like Jill said. I like to listen. I like to ingest every bit of information I can. If I don't know something, it drives me crazy till I know it. So oftentimes I'll go down insane, weird wormholes, even on stuff that doesn't really apply to my work life, but it may. I think learning everything, information's so easily, it's on your phone, and in a very bad way, it's on your phone. So you can sit in bed till 4 a.m. and learn anything you need to learn very quickly. There's a million videos on everything. So I think if you're in the music space, obviously Joe said, you got to work hard. I feel like in any industry, you have to want it more than anyone. Jill, I say you got to have fire in your belly. You got to wake up Monday morning you have to have fire in your belly, especially if you're working in the record business. I mean, let's be honest, artists, when they're developing on any scale, they're waking up, they're getting in a van with other people or a bus, which isn't comfortable. Everyone thinks a bus is great. They're not great, comfortable. And they're going to city and city, begging people to buy their merchandise so they can get to the next city. That's quite possibly the worst job in the world. It's the best job. You get to see the world, but it's also the toughest job in the world. So we have to walk into our office every day and we have to want it that much more than they do. We have to be committed because they are getting in a van going to some of the worst markets in the world. We're having 10 people show up so they can show their art. So we have to have the same level of commitment, right? So yes, if you're going to walk through the doors, you better walk with pride. You want to kill it for everyone, whether we're 10 tickets or 10,000 tickets. We have them both here. We have
Right.
artists that are quite literally worth 10 tickets in LA. We have quite literally artists that are worth 20,000 tickets in LA. We do the same work for them, right? So that's the obligation I think anyone that's willing to be in this business has to have.
Yes. Fire in your belly. Hazel, 2 to 3
Yes.
minutes.
All right. So, I mean, I think all around everybody did mention listening, right? So, on a financial perspective, I'm not the most creative, but I get to work in an industry that is very creative. What I think the skill that I value is listening and then interpreting that into how does that apply to your job, because that's so important to understand what is it that Andy's asking for, what is it that Jill or Joe is asking for, and how does that impact our financials. And being open-minded, and we go to school and we read all these books and we're told this is how you do things, but sometimes you could go, well, I hear this is what they want, how can I make that happen, and do it in a financially sound way where we are still all profitable in every possible way and make the best business decisions. So to me, a skill of being able to translate what you're hearing and applying it to what you do in your day-to-day job is extremely important. The other thing, I don't think it's a skill, but it's something I do, and I would love to pass this on to the younger ones, is I never said no because everything is a lesson, right? It might be something I don't know how to do, but I was like, yes, you know what? You want that? Let me figure it out and I'll get back to you. Because I'm getting paid to learn. Like, that's rare. Most of the time, people get paid to go to you pay to go to school so you could learn. Where I have a job where I'm like, I'm going to take this time, I'm going to learn the record industry, I'm going to translate it to something where I can make it useful for my job. So I just never said no. I didn't know how to do royalties. They're like, hey, we need somebody to learn how to calculate royalties. I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to learn how to do it because I know it's going to benefit me in the future if I ever decide to grow my career or whatever. So I don't know if that's a skill, but it's something that I value. I think it's important to be open-minded and also understand how to translate information when it's presented to you.
Communication, right? That's what I'm learning. Really good, the skill of communicating. But unless it's illegal, say yes, right? Say yes. That's what I heard, right? Say yes, because and I think like what I've heard from all of you too. What I think even Jill, you were talking about, reading, and Andy too, and for me that's curiosity, staying curious, right, and wanting to learn more about things, and I love those are just critical skills. So thank you guys for pulling those out, for everyone. I'm going to jump to the Q&A because we have so many questions here, so I just want to make sure we're hitting this. Kathy says, I'm really interested in working in the label business side. What traits and what kinds of experiences would you expect the most when recruiting someone to the team? So what are you guys looking for in that entry level role? This also goes to Shannon. People who want to work for a label group, what are some of the best entry level jobs, and what are you looking for those folks coming in? Who wants to start? GM, maybe? Jill?
Well, it depends on where your area of passion is, right? I mean, are you drawn to social media? I mean, does that part of the business fascinate you? Are you a movie and music buff, right? Maybe you want to work in sync and film and television, music placement. Do you spend hours searching for new music, or do you love to go out 3 nights a week or 5 nights a week and go see new bands? Then maybe you need to be an A&R. I would venture to say that all of us at some point or another had some sort of apprentice role, right? Where we worked under, some element of the business and sort of found our niche. So for me, I started in college as a I worked at the college radio station. I worked as a college marketing rep in retail stores, hanging up posters for retailers and then calling college radio stations and getting songs played on the college radio stations. I then ended up having a 25-year promotion career, which is, career in radio promotion. So, and evolved from there, but I still love going independent record stores, right? Still love the fact that we create great vinyl packages here. So it's all about what part of the business fires you up. But there's also a danger to that, right? Because when you love what you do and you do what you love, it's hard sometimes to separate all that, right? So, it's really hard when you find a band and you love them and, you sign them to a deal. A lot of A&R people, they have a tough time because then, if the record doesn't work out or the band doesn't become big, that's heartbreaking. I mean, I'm putting words in Andy's mouth, but it's a painful thing, right? And it's I think for us, when you get real close to the thing that you love in the world, man, that's a hard fall. We hate to fail our artists. So, I have friends who started in sort of creative roles who were like, oh man, it's just too heartbreaking. So, I just want to be a fan. That's kind of crazy to me that you'd give up, because I would never give up, right? Like you just kind of get through it. But I think for a lot of people, they end up working in roles where they're more behind the scenes because of that, right? Because they just want to be near it, but they don't want to be in charge of it, right? They need to have that separation. So
the emotional investment in it as well, right?
It's tough. It's tough. So, like I couldn't be an A&R person, man. That's too hard to fall, I think,
Yeah, you feel it. You feel it. Speaking of A&R, so that was somebody wanting
I was
to work
setting
in
them up.
The artists, right? Artists are asking. We've got a handful of questions on what advice would you give for an artist or a band to catch your attention of a label, and I think this goes along with it. What are the key ingredients you're looking for an artist to be ready to sign? I think those two. Andy, I don't know if you want to tackle that one.
Yeah, look, I'm a little old school. I tell people like go play shows and matter, like have an audience, like right, because right now we're in a world where 150 things get signed a day off TikTok, and those artists can't leave their bedroom because they're scared to death of a stage, right? So like if we're talking about career, you have to, I use the example. There's an artist who's really big on TikTok, and she went and played in front of 2,000 people. And 2,000 people were there. Not one person had their phone in the air filming her. That's a terrible sign. If you can't engage an audience, you're dead. You're dead on arrival, in my opinion, right? If you don't have the desire to go headline Reading and Leeds or Glastonbury, then because the live business is an art. It's everything. Like you have to be engaging. You have to be entertaining. This is still the entertainment business, right? You can go and create 45-minute funk records from and get big in Latin America, and if that's your desire, but it's not. It's a different type of artistry. So I'm saying go be big in your own market. If you're from Oklahoma, be big in Oklahoma and be great live. You will catch the attention people that if you're great live, no matter what. People will find your songs, the song usage, how it goes through TikTok, how our data and research team finds it. Everyone finds that. There's no secret to that anymore. Every single person, every single scout, everyone finds every bit of music. If there's something comes through data right now, 100 people have already seen it, or 1,000 people already talking about it. So it'll raise its hand. So don't worry about that. I'm saying when that moment comes, be good live, be entertaining, because when the label has to sit there and decide, the major has to sit there and decide, oh, we need to drop 90 of these because they're not working because the second song didn't go viral. They're gonna be like, oh, this artist actually has an audience. They're touring already. There's a reason to believe that artist is more than just a moment, right? And that's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to find artists that we can say, hey, we're in it for the long term. When it comes to heartbreak, like Jill says, there's a ton of heartbreak always with this, and sometimes things just don't work. But sometimes, I have a ton of artists that didn't work. I had one literally call me 2 days ago. He runs a huge tech company. He just called me to thank me. He said, "Hey, man, I know our records didn't work, but I just wanted to thank you, and I'm about to sell my company, and I'm going to be insanely rich." I was like, "Wow, great! Good for you."
You want to invest in the label?
Yeah, I was like, hey, if you ever doing music again after you got nothing else to do, come back. But he's a great musician. Things just didn't work at the time, right? So I think it really goes back to, say what you do what you're going to say, be that type of person. But when it comes to artists, there's a million ways artists discovered, right? Attorneys are sending us stuff, agents are sending us stuff. But I'm always like, just create noise wherever you are. Create it wherever you are. Be great live. Have people talking about you. Every promoter in the United States talks to every label, talks to every agent. Everyone will find you out. Everyone will find you. It's guaranteed. If you're great and you're worth something to talk about, someone will find you.
And that's why it's so important to be kind to everyone, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's a network. All right, last question. We're just running late, but who cares? I run the organization. Let's go. One final question, and then we're off. Final advice for someone entering the industry. You can even say, what would you tell your younger self, right? Entering the industry today. Joe, let's start with you.
I think I would say find a way to present yourself as confident while also self-aware. You don't have to be an expert. You can't be expected to be an expert if you're just entering the business. But I'm drawn to confident people who have a passion for this line of work, but also are willing to say, I don't know all the things, but I am an open book and I'm a sponge. So confidence for me.
Confidence. Love it. Jill.
I would say work hard and put this first as a young person, right? You have to commit to a strong work ethic. The last 4 people out of any building are the ones on this call. It's just a lot of work. I find a lot of people come into the business and don't have a strong work ethic. And this is just too hard. It's too competitive. So if you're not willing to work 10 hours a day, that's cool. But get a job that pays by the hour and don't take people's careers and lives into your hands.
Yeah. That fire in the belly.
Fire in the belly.
You have to have it.
You have to really want it. It's fun. It's really fun, but it's not all fun. It's hard work. So start with working hard every day.
Love it. Hazel.
I might go the other way. Make sure you love what you do, right? Because when coming in isn't really knowing or understanding, and also knowing what the goals are, right? Well, I'm going into the music business knowing it's not banking, right? It's a creative side of the world. I need to love what I do, meaning it's going to change every minute of the day because music is constantly evolving. So if you're more of a person who's very stringent and wants press that red button every day, same thing, doing it over and over, I don't think this industry might not be the best for you. So knowing what it is you're looking for and loving what you do, I think to me would be my advice, because some people come into it, especially from anybody can work in finance, right? But not a lot of people last working in the finance in the music industry, because things change and I have to have a team who is flexible that can evolve. So that's the one thing.
Passion. Okay.
Yeah.
Confidence, strong work ethic, passion. Andy, take us home.
Look, I was going to say confidence, but I think some people may think confidence comes off the wrong way. It's not being cocky. You're just being a confident person, knowing what you don't have to know everything. You should be confident. That's the most attractive thing. I think when I constantly tell my staff, there are days by 10 a.m. I'm so beat down. I'll just be like, I just need to go to the beach and not answer the phone for the rest of my day because it's so bad so early. But I go back to what I always preach. It's the solution. It's what Joe is. It's the fixer, right? So I always say, hey everyone, no problems, only solutions. We don't need to sit here and complain and have negative energy. So it's mindset. You have to have the right mindset. No problems, only solutions. You have to go into this that the world, especially music, so many things go wrong. The artist is late. They're having problems. Touring's everything mad at you. You can turn that around because there's no problems in your world. There's only solutions, and that's it. That's the way I look at it every day.
and a growth mindset. I love it.
Yep.
We've got the ingredients to make a career. Thank you guys so much for sharing your insight and your time with us today. Really appreciated it. Thank everybody. Give a big round of applause. Joe, Jill, Andy, Hazel, the Concord Label Group, and Fearless Records. Woo, woo, woo. Thank you guys.